I remember that one of the main reasons why we chose this as a topic is we watched, what was the name of the documentary on Netflix?
Oh, the
Social,
social question, the social
the
problem, something
social.
like that.
So yeah, and it's a Netflix documentary that you should watch if you haven't watched
Let me
it,
check.
just to get informed, not necessarily because it's good. Actually, quite to the opposite. While it manages very well to find in a very
Oh,
direct,
the
yeah,
name
yes,
is The Social Dilemma. That's the one.
the social dilemma.
Yeah.
So this is a very liberal-minded documentary which manages to find many issues which are correlated to different social media platforms, but fails intrinsically at addressing them properly because, again, it's operating under this liberal idea that anything and everything can be democratically modified to an extent in which it is no longer evil or bad, but that's much more neutral and stable.
Mm.
And one of the main topics there was that apparently uh, the disillusionment that people are feeling in the US towards how the country is doing, and not only that, but the disillusionment that they are feeling with their lifestyles and with capitalism in general, has a lot to do with evil right wingers misusing the algorithm in order to introduce different, counteracting or conspiratory ideas. Well, my friends, that is not the reason, that is the consequence. Idiots and reactionaries coming in and using the fact that people are sick and tired of living under the boot, and not only under the boot, but eating shit on the daily from their bosses and coming back home and having 3-4 hours of shut eye is a consequence, not a reason why people are as pissed off as they are. So I just wanted to touch on the idea that well, social media does exacerbate all the ills that we are facing in society, and it tends to move them further right wing. We need to continuously remember that this is just a tool for spreading information, and it's going to just more intensively and quicker spread right wing ideas, because the society which we live in allows for these right wing ideas to grow, because people are pissed off and tired of living the way they are currently living. Uh, Another thing is that social media is sort of creating this balanced outlook among teenagers, which their previous generations didn't have because they did mode of production. Um, Additionally, as you very well put, um, listen, at the end of the day, social media is in general a bunch of platforms which allow us to share our opinions and to interact with our friends. As long as the main motivation for the way they operate is based on making as much money for the bourgeois class which owns these social media platforms, you will have consequences which encourage the existence of both the bourgeois class and of capitalism in general. So the only way to make social media relatively ethical, and not just relatively ethical, but to make it something that, as Marx himself says, non-alienating, because we are alienated from work, but Marx also said that we are alienated from society. Uh, and social media, in my opinion, can be a great tool which allows us to not be alienated from society, because the original idea was you get to interact with your friends and your family to a higher level. You get to actually be a part of their life a lot more, because you get to experience everyday things that they are experiencing, which you would not be able to do without the internet and without social media. And if left at this point, if left at a sort of crossroads, in at which, not crossroads, but at a point in which social media can actually be a tool which allows you to feel less alienated, it could end up not only being a great capitalist experiment, a great technological upheaval, but it could be a great socialist tool for us to come together a lot more than we have up until now in history, or up until now even in capitalism. So where am I going with this whole drunken rant? Um, as long as social media is treated as a business, and as long as it is treated as something that needs to make money before anything else, it will not serve, it will not serve the interests of the users of the platform. The only moment in which social media can grow into something which quite literally can synthesize all of us into a greater whole, can even be used as a beautiful tool for us to understand each other better, and through that to understand that we are part of one community, and as a part of one community and one class, be a part of an actual socialist movement, and an idea and a world at one point. Uh, the fact that it is not being used towards that goal quite literally personally hurts me to a deep level and even depresses me. So the only way for us to backtrack and use this beautiful social tool as something which it even in Silicon Valley originally was intended to be, is to remove what corrupts it. And what corrupts it is its drive towards capital, and its drive to, instead of allowing us to experience each other at each other's purest form, uh, instead it just moves us towards changing as much as we potentially could in order to consume product X, Y, Z, and Epsilon. So I'll just leave it at that.
Yeah, no, absolutely. You know, it kind of reminds me of the question with like artificial intelligence, because artificial intelligence under a socialist system is utopian. Like it's beautiful. It's the dream. It's everything. Like it's amazing. Like we could work less. We could relax. We could take it easy. Production would be handled by artificial intelligence. Amazing. Under a capitalist system, it's dystopian. It's like the end of the world. It's like the worst thing in the world.
Exactly.
And we're seeing this exactly
Everything goes
play out
dystopian when it's under the capitalist system.
under the capitalist system. This is it. This is it exactly. You know, unfortunately, under the capitalist system, social media is just being used to exploit us, and yeah, it's hugely unfortunate, but that's the way we're at. I mean, and the only way, of course, solving these problems is to deal with the profit motive which underpins these social media platforms, and of course, that means moving towards socialism. That means moving towards nationalizing these companies.
Yeah,
Nationalize
literally
each,
nationalize them. Yeah, as
literally
mimi as it
nationalize them.
sounds.
Of
As
course,
mimi as it sounds. And
yeah.
I'm sorry for interrupting. And people are going to say, okay, but how is it going to work? Have you heard about a little thing called Wikipedia? Wikipedia is online communism at work. Like, counter argue me, please, if I'm wrong at something. But
BitTorrents.
Wikipedia, the BitTorrents as well. But BitTorrents exists because capitalism exists, and people
Sure.
need to,
Shit for free.
indirectly nationalize items such as movies and video games. But Wikipedia is a bunch of people coming together with no financial incentive, zero, literally none, and creating the world's largest database ever known. It's absolutely beautiful. Why can't literally all social media platforms work in the same manner? Especially because the users are the content creators. Without the users, there would be no content on Facebook. There would be no content on Instagram. There would be no content on YouTube. It would not exist because there would be nothing to view. It would just be an empty shell. Yes, sure, created by the engineers, but just an empty shell. It is the users which create the content. It is actually full-heartedly run by the users, run by the creators of content. But Facebook has the balls, YouTube has the balls, Instagram, Snapchat, whatever has the balls, even LinkedIn has the balls to come and tell us, yo, we are giving you this platform for free. Motherfucker, you're not giving me this platform for free because I make your platform run. Even my picture of my fucking cat vomiting on a goddamn carpet makes your platform run, because without constant billions of gigabytes of content pulled out of everybody's ass on the daily, these sites will combust on themselves. They cannot work without the people. And yet they have the audacity to tell us, oh, you should be thankful that I'm stealing your data, because if I wasn't stealing your data, I would make you pay for this. And it doesn't work that way, just like it doesn't in a business. You should be thankful to your boss because he gave you a job. He has a job and he has a business because of your work. That same Marxist, and that's the beauty of Marxism, fucking thought of before like 100 and 80 years ago, that it can even be applied to such an innovative, insanely new concept such as social media. Motherfucker, it can be applied to any stop drinking water, I will fuck you up. It is nothing exists without those who make it exist, and those who make it exist are those who create the actual meat
Well,
of the cow's back.
listen,
Yeah.
I tell you, it's very interesting from a Marxist perspective when you look at the internet in this sort of new space, because when the internet was first conceived of, it was this new commons that have been created. I mean, it was all this free information that was flowing freely between everybody. It was infinitely replicable. You could infinitely replicate music and films and information and all this sorts of stuff, which is hugely interesting. And so this gets back to that old kind of Marxist analysis. The enclosure of the commons is what capitalists do. There once was this common land, physical land that just belonged to all the people, but then the capitalists put some fucking fences around this land and said, no, that's ours now, fuck off. Everybody else who used to exist there and used to inhabit that land and used to, get food from the trees that existed there, or from the animals, or from whatever it might be, they've been told to just fuck off out of here. And that's what we're seeing basically with the internet right now. The capitalists are enclosing the commons of the internet. So things that were previously free are being made monetized now at this stage. I mean, you go onto YouTube, if you're not being given advertisements, then I think you can get like YouTube Premium or this or that, or you've got these sort of paid services, like Netflix and so on and so forth, and of course you do have alternatives like Pirate Bay. You can download Popcorn Time and download, but this is all illegal, and the capitalists are constantly trying to squeeze out that illegality.
Yeah.
And so again, we're seeing Marx's analysis of capital relevant again. Hundreds of years later, we're seeing it relevant again. The enclosure of commons is exactly happening again in the online cyberspace, which it's not really something that you hear a lot of Marxists addressing, I suppose, but it's still a massive issue, and we're of course seeing it again. So yeah, this is it. That's what I would say. It's very interesting. It's very interesting to see it happening, and it's very unfortunate. It's very unfortunate that we're allowing this to happen.